See how this all unfolds?
Well, my immediate reaction was it was staged. I'll be 100% honest with you. And obviously that's in the initial blush of nobody having any information, right? But that's where we are now, is when something like that happens, you're going to have a pretty sizable portion of the population, myself included, going, nope, staged, because the news cycle had been nothing but Biden for a while, and this gives it back to Trump. Now, since then, they have obviously a lot more information has come to light, and I divested myself of that opinion, but a lot of people have not. You might have noticed that the word staged was trending all weekend long. I'm going to play the clip here. I'm sure everybody has seen or heard it by now, but this was Butler, Pennsylvania. I guess I don't have to go over the finer points of this, right? I mean, everybody knows by now what the broad strokes are. Butler, PA is about a half an hour north of Pittsburgh. And the shooter was from a town called Bethel Park, which was actually a suburb I lived in for a few years. I lived in a bunch of different places over the 8 years that I was on the air in Pittsburgh. But I lived in Bethel Park for a little bit of time, and it's...
I just did stand-up in Bethel Park a few months ago.
Yeah, there's nothing notable about it. It's a south suburban Pittsburgh area. It's upper middle class. It's largely white. It's historically conservative, but not crazy Trump flags everywhere. But the kid graduated from high school a couple of years ago and used his dad's rifle at this rally in Butler, PA.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened. Of
course, the number one thing that everybody thought was when more information came to light was how the hell did they not have that structure covered?
Right.
Where the kid was. And all the finger pointing starts, obviously. Secret Service said that they used a lot of local cops. And so they're pointing the finger at them, at the Butler Police Department. The person who was killed, the one fatality, unless there's been an update, I know there were a couple of other people that were critically injured, but the one person who was killed on site was the former, as I understand it, fire chief of Butler, Pennsylvania. Not an old guy, like I think late 40s, early 50s. And again, Butler, Pennsylvania is not, it's not a large place. It's about 13,000 people. You know, it's kind of any town USA, really. Not shocking they would have Trump rally there, but I mean, it's a smallish town. So the kid did some driving. Of course, not Kyle Rittenhouse style driving, but, you know. And a lot of people on the right were deprived of a major talking point when they got more information about the kid. You know, they were praying it was going to be a transgender illegal immigrant up there resting their gun on an NPR tote bag or something. But white Republican kid. And so the classmates...
Have they uncovered any more information? Like, did he have any manifestos or anything online or anything like that?
All I read was that the FBI is having a hard time getting into his phone, which I don't understand.
Crap.
I mean, I don't get it.
Such crap.
Our data can be leaked, you know, 100 times over, but they're like, we just can't figure out how to get in this kid's phone.
It's got a 6-digit pin, man.
Yeah.
There's so many combinations.
This was a kid who had been rejected from his school's rifle club. I didn't know schools had rifle clubs anymore, but he had been rejected because he was a terrible shot. So as far as Donald Trump's concerned, that's the greatest thing to happen to him. That this kid was the one who was taking the shot. He was 130 yards away. And the kids who knew him, he fits the profile. I mean, you can see the picture of him. He looks like every other kid who is probably ostracized from his peers, which some of his classmates were saying. They were like, I didn't know the guy very well, but he was not a popular dude. And that was kind of the consensus among the people who kind of knew him or knew of him in his school.
Have any interaction with him, but he was like a kid that was always alone. He was always bullied every day. He was just an outcast. I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays, so they're going to see someone like that, and they're going to target him because they think it's funny or whatever. So it's the best way I can describe it. And it's honestly kind of sad.
Yeah. So, again, fits a lot of that profile, checks a lot of the boxes for kids who show up and do this kind of stuff. But not some crazy left-wing kid. His father, Matthew Crooks, said he's still trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But he, I guess, used his dad's rifle or something. He wasn't carrying any ID on him. By most accounts, people were like, he worked at like an old folks home or something, and the people he worked with said he's quiet, but he did a good job. But there was a lot of this, obviously, in the initial aftermath, that, there's no real downside for this for Trump. Because, like I said, that the entire news cycle has been about Biden for 2 weeks, and this puts it squarely back on Trump. I'm sure there's already merch, right?
My brother sent a picture of a hat that he already bought.
Yeah. So, but again, that's no shock. I mean, I get, the merch is now a thing for everything now. But the BBC, I think, was the first to talk to a guy who was out there in that back field and said, we saw this dude on the roof. And we were like waving down police who were in the area. And he's like, it was like the Keystone Cops out there. Nice contemporary reference. I don't know. That was mine, not his. But I don't know that there's a good, new, modern reference that we've been using Keystone Cops for so long. But they did talk to a guy who was like, we watched the dude. We were trying to flag down cops to let them know that this kid was scooting up there on the roof.
We noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building, 50 feet away from us. We're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof. He had a rifle. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. He's crawling. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
It blew the kid's head off. TMZ had video of the kid up there. Wasn't up there for long. I got to take a second here and give you this money. It's $1,000 as promised, courtesy of the Buzzard bookie. You get 4 or 5 of these during the show today. So listen closely and good luck.
This is your chance to bet with the Buzzard bookie and win $1,000 now. Enter this nationwide keyword at WMMS.com. Bank. That's bank. Enter it now at WMMS.com.
So, yeah, but, you'll still see staged. There's some people who are still digging their heels in on that.
Well, I think it's just because there are so many unanswered questions, and it's only been a couple of days. But there was, I don't know if you want to call them reports, but people saying that a cop went up the ladder, and then dude pointed the rifle at him, and the cop just retreated and was like, okay, that a local cop that they had hired went up to see what was going on.
Sir, this is Butler, not Uvalde. Get back up here. Yeah, again, there are. I would be really surprised if that was the case, but who knows? I mean, listen, I don't. It's ironic that for a crowd that's so big on the Second Amendment, traditionally rallies of any kind along these lines, they want to make sure people aren't carrying. So a guy on a roof is probably going to stand out. But my initial take with thinking, well, this might have been set up. It's a few days before the RNC. I mean, there were just so many things that you could put into that box and think, well, he had his shoes off. I don't know what that's about. They released the Secret Service audio, the transcript of the audio, and he was saying, let me get my shoes, which a lot of people were like,
how'd they fall off?
Well, I think he took them off.
He took them off.
Yeah, he took them off. But I was like, I would think anybody would want to have their shoes on to, if nothing else, look a little taller. Or I guess I didn't realize he was getting that comfy at these rallies. But you know how he likes to dance. You'd think you want to keep your shoes on for that. Get out there and cut a rug. But yeah, he wanted to play a little bit of this here.
Take a look at what happened.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus. Move to the bus.
Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down.
Wait.
So he tells him to wait so he can go back and do the fist pump.
Which
So say what you want
I
about
cannot believe that they let him, though.
say what
That's
you want
what
about
I
Trump. He's a
can't-
showman boy. He
Oh, yeah,
never
yeah.
misses an opportunity.
Okay.
You know, because I initially thought too, I was like, that photo is staged. But then I was watching a thing with the photographer, and he's like, look, I've been doing this a long time. You got to know how to frame stuff. And it's, this guy got off an amazing shot. Just an amazing shot. So, I heard
The photographer.
yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. The photographer was the only one who, but yeah, obviously they're going
He
to
was in his school's photo club.
they're going to drill down and get a lot of information. We're going to have more information than we ever wanted to have. But, in my mind, I'm like, any person, I know Trump's a coward, but he didn't even look scared at all. And I'm like, I would think that any human being has like a fight or flight response. You always think about Secret Service once they lock in. They take the dude down. And it kind of looked like they were shuffling him along, So I don't know. The whole thing, there are still some people who are convinced that it was set up. Strangely, I haven't heard people in conservative media say that, which is weird. If this was Biden, they'd be screaming false flag until their throats were
Oh, and they'd be
raw.
making all sorts of jokes and so.
I haven't heard anybody
Mary's tweet was
suggest.
funny though with the picture.
What was that?
I got in trouble.
You got in trouble?
What was your tweet?
I put the picture of him with his fist up where they're all trying to push him away and he won't. I just said, my friend's trying to get me in an Uber after my 11th vodka soda.
What's the matter with that?
People are furious.
Because of that picture.
I already lost a ton of followers after I posted that like white trash couple at the fair video.
Right.
And then I lost like another 600 yesterday.
Well, then I guess you know who your I guess you know who your demographic is.
Yeah.
People who get really mad at that kind of stuff.
But I guess, like, when you talk about it being set up,
But that wasn't even political, what you
not at
just
all.
did. Like, it was
I'm like,
just.
that could be like a puke and rally. Like, that could be in favor of Trump.
Hey, listen, if everybody wants to crow about this as an instantly iconic photo, it's going to get used for stuff.
Right.
I saw
it was
people
such a silly joke.
and I saw people take way harder shots than that, and that wasn't even a shot at him.
Right. That wasn't a shot at anybody.
It was a shot at a former mayor.
Right. I guess I re-downloaded Twitter. I had not been on Twitter in almost a year. I didn't even have it on my phone anymore. I re-downloaded it the night of the debate, so just a couple weeks ago. And obviously, I think it's the best app for like up to like in the moment news. I think you get things there the fastest.
That's the only thing I
definitely.
still use it for. It's a good aggregator.
So,
But it's a lot of garbage too.
It's so much garbage, and that's what I was getting at is that I'm like, if I continue to be on this app as much as I have been in the last 2 days, I am going to be a full-blown conspiracy theorist by the end of the week. Because just the things that people are sharing, and it's crazy the things that people are putting out there. And I've talked about my brother being a conspiracy theorist before, and how when he talks to me, I'm like, this guy kind of makes sense. And I've had to be like, this is not a safe place for my mind right now. Because now I'm starting to draw conclusions that aren't there. I'm starting to, we're just asking questions, man. We're all just trying to figure
but
it
again,
out.
that's why I thought it was so, Trump fans believe some of the craziest shrimp you've ever heard in your life. Hillary was harvesting baby organs in the basement of a pizza joint, and John F. Kennedy is alive and doing something. And Joe Biden is on cocaine. But setting up a fake assassination attempt is just too incredibly unbelievable. You just can't get your brain past that point. No, I don't think that it was. But it is interesting how, I guess, depending on how you already view things like this, You get your mind made up. People were messaging me and leaving voicemails. Whoop, Trump just won the election. And you hear people say, I do not understand that at all. I don't know what they mean by that.
You don't think that this just skyrocketed people to be like, I stand by my man no matter what?
Well, if you already liked him, I don't know how anyone on the fence would suddenly. How does this change anything about who he is?
It doesn't. But people who are on the fence or don't really care about politics or maybe weren't going to vote are going to see these pictures and are going to see him being resilient and seeing him standing up and saying fight after getting shot.
But this guy's
in the
been
ear.
this guy's been calling. All this does, it moves him from the hypothetical into the practical. This guy's been pretending he's a victim the whole time.
Yeah, but now
now he is.
He's got proof.
Yes,
yeah.
of course. Now he is. But it doesn't change who he's still got the guy behind Project 2025, which makes him the king. And so, listen, an attempted assassination, it doesn't change any of that.
But that's
this guy's always going to raise tensions instead of lowering them.
I know.
I understand perception's reality. I'm just saying that I don't know when people. I'll tell you what it is going to do, though. This pretty much puts to bed the whole "is Joe Biden going to jump out" thing. He ain't going to jump out now. But I don't understand this picture changes everything.
I think it does.
Trump spent the last 8 years encouraging violence. Eventually, it's going to bite you in the ass. I know they meant, no, shoot the other people, not us, but it's eventually going to bite you in the ass. So I don't know why he would earn any sympathy or generosity. I mean, he hasn't earned that from people he's spoken about. It's not going to change who he is.
But I don't think people care.
Well,
People who are not paying attention to politics to begin with, when this is their introduction to, hey, should I vote or not? And they see a guy get shot, go down, come up, raise his fist, and then go golfing the next day.
Well, you might be right.
Just by that alone, people are going to be like, I like this guy.
You might be right, but
I don't think the people that
I don't
they're
see the
saying
logic
it's
in
gonna,
that.
There isn't any. That's the whole point, is that the people that this is swaying don't know anything. The people who are on the fence and maybe going to vote one way or the other, I absolutely see how this makes the guy more likable, because it did to me. When I saw him do it, I'm like, this is crazy.
Made him more likable.
Yes.
How so?
That even in the face of death and being shot at, he's still going to say, America, fight, we're in this together, and pump his fist all bloody and
well, right,
walk off the stage.
But the whole unity nonsense lasts for about an hour. Then it's back to, they're rapists in our streets. And
I mean, maybe. We'll have to see what comes up this week at the RNC.
You know, guys like Marco Rubio are still hoping to be VP. So he's out there going like, God protected Trump. And you won't be shocked to know how that makes the families of school shooting victims feel. You know, Parkland, Florida had a school shooting, big one. That was part of Marco Rubio's district in Florida. So I don't know. Again, I don't understand undecided people in the first place. So you could be 100% correct. I guess God took a long lunch the day of Parkland. But, yeah, I don't know. Because it all happens in a split second. And so he knows what a good photo op is. So anyway, to quote Republicans after gun violence of any kind, thoughts and prayers. And now let's get back to work is what I think. But I don't see that changes him at all.
It doesn't.
The things that he was still responsible for, he remains responsible. And whatever his, well, I shouldn't say his policies that are being written for him are still intact. So you have to remember over the course of the past 40 years, by the way, in the Republican Party, when they started losing elections, as the electorate was changing and becoming more diverse, they didn't figure out how they could appeal to those people. They started to turn on democracy. You know, I hear a lot of people, I heard a guy call Rover this morning, he's like, we're not a democracy. You hear a lot of dummies throwing this around, right? They like to throw out that we're a constitutional republic, which again, as if that's it's a distinction without a difference, right? It's a phrase these people never even heard until somebody threw it against the wall in some right-wing podcast. The people who started this country were quite clear, by the way, if you know your history, that they believed this was a democracy. We're a representative democracy. And anytime people start throwing that around, the minute you hear someone say, and they're always a Republican, the minute you hear somebody say that, you can tune them out because they are lying to you. But you'll hear that phrase getting thrown around a lot. So they're going to find out more about the kid. Golly, I hope the FBI can eventually get into his phone. I hope that they have tech support that'll help him do that. But I mean, MAGA will use this as a blank check. Right? Any criticism of Trump from here on out, they will immediately spin as some kind of incitement to violence. So,
there's so many people that
we're not in a better place by any means.
Ugh.
I think there was maybe a split second where everybody's head was kind of like, well, maybe there's a universe. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, maybe there's a universe in which cooler heads on either side can prevail. But I'm not that, I consider myself an optimist, but not like that. So it's all a very, very dark, cynical road to go down. And I don't know that anybody knows what it means. I think most people kind of felt numb to it. They were like, yeah, well, this is probably eventually going to happen to one of those two guys.
I know we have to go to a break, but I felt like the reaction from the crowd was one of the most shocking things to me.
What was that?
There were no people running, screaming, going crazy. Like,
yeah, but you know what?
Shots. I feel like if I'm in public and I hear gunshots, I'm sprinting in the opposite direction of where the sound came from as fast as I can.
Have you ever been in a big area where there's gunshots?
I have not.
Okay. Well, they sound like fireworks. They sound...
but they sound less than that. They don't sound... I mean, you hear it in the video where it just sounds like someone's slapping a 2x4 on concrete.
Yeah, it does take a second to figure out what's going on. I mean, a lot of people did hit the deck. The guy who died, was using himself as a human shield for his family. So, but then there was the woman sitting behind Trump who just picked up her phone.
With the black hat on?
I don't know. She just lifted her phone and started filming. And I was like, so people are going to be going over this like the Zapruder film. But listen, I think that you have to be, I don't know that anyone is so hardened that you can't generate some empathy for a person who has lived through something like this, right? But it doesn't change who Trump is. So I'm glad he's not dead. Two things in your brain can be at the same time. You can condemn the guy, as I am wont to do, but doesn't mean you wish the guy dead. I'm surprised at how many people were like, darn, they missed. I was like, wow. I mean, that's not a place that I could get to. Because then you have we have a huge gun problem in the country, right? As a species, we're violent, but there's a whole lot of things circling that orbit. So I don't know. But I don't know. Your brother's going to have a field day with it, of course, for the foreseeable future.
Not really.
Oh, really?
They were kind of like... I don't even know how to describe it. Like, we were talking about it happening, but they weren't, crazy about it. They were just like, yeah, here's what's going on. This is what happens. People are insane.
Yeah, well. Okay, I got to take a break here. You want to send me a text? 35192. Want to go see the Cleveland Orchestra perform The Lord of the Rings out at Blossom? You know, a little culture in your life? That's going to happen the first weekend in August. I will get you 4 tickets for the August 3rd performance. You want to get out there, we'll do that coming back. 35192. Again, to text for anything. You can listen anywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
With the courts and the gridiron silent, you'd think there wouldn't be much action over the summer. But you can still